Hello, hello. Welcome to the Burnout Prevention Network. My name is Casey Pacheco. I am the host, and I have with me my co host, Dr. Nayempu Karmuhal. Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome. Today, we're going to have a really good conversation, Dr. Karmuhal. We're going to have a very special guest. She's one of both of our hearts, and she has been in education for a long time. It is Beverly Barnett. I didn't get to put her credentials, but I put her beautiful picture here. We're going to welcome her in. Welcome to our show today, Beverly. It is so nice to have you.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it and look forward to talking with you and Dr. Nyambi. Nyambi.
Nyampu.
Nyambi. Okay, Nyambi. Okay. Paul. Okay. Talking to both of you about the subject of nurses and burnout.
Yes, yes. So let's start off getting a little bit of background about you. Let's zoom in. We put you in the hot seat.
Okay.
You've been in education. You're retired now, right?
Yes, I am retired from nursing education. I've been in nursing education for about 25 years. Um,
Okay.
and I taught in associate degree, undergraduate, and baccalaureate programs. My
Okay.
specialty was, well, I'm a med surg nurse, but I ended up working a lot of pediatric nurses. So then pediatric nursing became my specialty. And I taught pharmacology. So pharmacology became my second thing. So, um, once you become an educator, you get kind of rounded and well rounded in everything to teach, except OB. There's something I don't teach. Okay. But I enjoyed being a nurse, and what I enjoyed doing was helping people, their families, because my goal as a nurse educator was to help people to make a livelihood that they could support their family needs. And I thought that was a big part of why I went there. And the other part is that I started off at a predominantly normal nursing white school, mixed school, and then I went to a HCBU, historically Black college and university, because I wanted to help diversify the nursing market in healthcare market in that area. The city I was living in, it was more than 50% Black, but the healthcare was what, 80?
Wow.
20, so or something. It wasn't 50%. So at that time, so the goal was to diversify the health market so that people could see nurses and were healthcare people of the same color.
Absolutely. We salute you. Thank you for your service.
You're welcome. I
I'm sure
enjoyed
you
it.
I'm sure you put a lot of beautiful nurses out into the market, into the field, and most of them probably went on to do amazing things. Most of your students. So we invited you on because we met through LinkedIn, and you were just pouring such knowledge and wisdom, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, I feel selfish. And I called Dr. Carmujo, and we had a great conversation. So I am just hoping that we can share some of this knowledge, some of this wisdom. And you said something really amazing about why nurses are burning out. What's really the root? And you talked about the fear of moving on. And I wanted you to share this with our audience today. What is this fear of moving on?
I think, in what I've observed, and I experienced it at one point, is that you when you start a job, you're a novice, and then you get all this expertise. The longer you stay in that job, you feel sometimes that you can't leave that job. That's the only thing you really know well.
Mm,
And it might be the only thing you really know well, but you still know nursing. And
yeah.
so what happens is that people say, well, I don't know if I can go anywhere else. This is the only thing I've done. This is the only branch of nursing specialty I worked in, and I'm just afraid to move on. And when you start getting that fear of moving on, and in your mind you know that you need to do something different, but the fear holds you there. And so
Mm,
once you get that fear holding you there, you're going to get stressed. You're just going to become more stressful in that job. And so if you don't move on, then your stress is just going to escalate, and you're going to move to Other symptoms of burnout where you hate to go to work. You hate your job. You don't hate your coworkers, but you don't want to interact with them, and you're irritable, and sometimes the quality of patient care that you deliver may be diminished because of the fact that you are stressed out with working in that area.
Mm.
Mm, mm. That is so deep. What do you think causes that fear that um, develops within nurses?
Well, I think well, one of the things I think that happen is that you develop a camaraderie with the people.
Mm.
And the other thing that contributes to it, I think, is the fact that sometimes when we become, we think that's the only thing we can do.
Mhm.
You
Mm,
know, so we get to the point that's the only thing we can do, and we don't really look at what else is available to do, or maybe I need to do something atypical that's not a nurse pathway,
mm.
traditional nurse pathway, but I'm afraid to take that step.
You, you have that fear of change.
Fear of change and fear of failure.
Ooh, yeah, fear of failure because
Beverly,
you
you are describing me in everyone in every aspect of that fear of the fear of moving on. My goodness, I feel like you're stabbing me. Ah.
But the main thing I think is because you think you can only do one job, then you feel that if I go there, I'm going to be awful. I'm going to fail. And everybody know that I'm an imposter at this point. So when you go somewhere, you have that imposter syndrome. I got to pretend that I know. I got to put this front up. But if I fail, everybody will know that I'm an imposter.
Mhm.
But what we forget is a confidence. Because remember when you was in the nursing school, you had a lack of confidence, and one of the things to make you better as a nursing student was gaining confidence. And
Mhm.
so even as a nurse, when you move to from one area of nursing to another, you become a novice once again,
That's
Mm.
and your
true.
confidence takes a
Yes.
little dive, but you're never at the point where you started out, because you
Mm.
can't be at that point because you have so much knowledge.
That's true. That's very true. And I'm thinking so many times we start putting identities onto ourselves. So I am a nurse, that's an identity, Then we say, "Oh, I'm a med surg nurse," or "I'm an ICU nurse."
Right,
So
right.
then coming out of those boxes, it's like, well, what is an OB nurse doing on med surg? Or what is a peds nurse doing in the ICU? Adult
Mhm.
ICU or trauma ICU. Breaking out of it, it's so scary. I have experienced that myself. I
Yes.
have.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I said, you really did describe what I've felt. And I can say I have moved past the fear of moving on. Even when the last day of my last day on my job, one of the staff said, moving on.com, and we laughed about it so much. I still she said I'm gonna find you on moving on.com. And may I add that just that moving the fear of moving on is not limited to just your nursing background or your nursing expertise. For me, it went into being an immigrant. It went into having an accent, and now going to become an entrepreneur. You know, who am I speaking to? But we need to remember that just being a nurse that's a strong asset, and also being an immigrant, you are speaking to that population. There are people within that population that need to see people of their color, people with their accent, people with an accent in general, and a person or people who are of immigrant descendants. So we need to see our value, what we bring to the market. And they say, what is your value asset? What are you bringing as unique? when we think of all those, it stops that fear. Fear become little or none, and that's what has happened to me. And I hope that someone is listening that this can resonate with, because sometimes that not sometimes quite often that happens to us, and it stagnates us. It stagnates our progress.
And
You know,
I can understand that because sometimes patients may not, if your accent is heavy, may
Mhm.
not really understand what you're saying, or
Mhm.
communication it sometimes can become a communication barrier
Mhm.
until you and that client get to know each other, and then once you get to know each other, then that relationship can overcome the communication barrier. But
Yes.
like you say, in the beginning, it is going to be a fear, contribute to your fear. And I'm gonna say something. I'm hearing impaired, so for me, talking to people was sometimes difficult,
Mm.
and I have to have the right environment to talk to people. So I have a different fear, is the fear that I may not understand,
Mm.
I may not hear what's being said. So, and I have to concentrate what people saying
Mhm.
when I'm talking to them, and focus on them, and read their lips.
Mhm.
Wow.
it's,
Mhm.
and so for me, when COVID happened, and you put on a mask, I could no longer read lips.
Oh.
My
So
goodness, Beverly.
until that time, I never considered myself having a disability. But as when that happened, I was like, I can't, I can't
Yes.
do that. I got
Wow.
to do something. Yeah, yeah, I was shocked, you know. But I had coworkers who knew that I couldn't hear good, had hearing problems. So we
Mhm.
compensated for that with
Yeah.
different telephones, different things for me to
Mhm.
overcome that. But
Mhm.
once COVID hit, those compensations were, it was the lip reading that really caused me to
Mhm.
have the problem. And I talked to other nurses who had hearing problems, and they talked about how difficult it was to work in that type of environment.
Wow.
Again, and that probably can contribute to somewhat of a burnout, because when I talk to people, I don't I have trouble talking to people who joke at the same time when they're talking. They make little jokes because
Mhm.
I got to focus on what you're saying.
Saying
And so I've got to weed out the joke
Wow.
and focus on what is important.
yes.
And so that's the difficulty I have. But hey,
You I think this conversation is going so well. And I don't want to I just like to put in we have Wanda Fox. She's saying, Beverly, you're doing an amazing work.
I
And
want to.
I really, hi Wanda, thank you for tuning in. I really believe you are doing an amazing work, because just from this conversation, here are the good things that are coming out of it. First of all, you talked about you switched. So you were an educator and you realized the market needed diversity. So you had to switch to a historically Black college, and you did something about it. And
Hmm.
Dr. Gamble, you're talking about the fear of being an immigrant, having an accent, getting out into business world, which is a whole different field, and to make a change. But I think we're being vulnerable, because like for me, I have the fear of not feeling enough. And I think a lot of that is when you're in nursing school, you have to get the math just right, and then they scare you if you mess up, you could actually take someone's life. And then you have cases like Redondo Ford, and you have where someone actually died based on
Hmm.
the actions of a nurse. And so you have this fear of, what if I'm not enough? What if I worked that night shift and I messed up and killed someone? Which it's never happened, thank God. But we all have these fears. But in order not to burn out, what's the motive behind pushing past our fears? What does that look like for ourselves, our lives, our families, our communities? What does that look like?
Well, I think that's taking control of your life
Mm,
and not
mm,
letting the job control your life.
I love
mm,
that. Woo.
mm,
Many of us, we start working, became a nurse because we really cared about people and we
Mm.
wanted to help people. And 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 we worked and the long hours that a nurse do, but they still ask you to work extra even with those long
Yes.
hours.
Yeah. It's like you're a
You know,
machine.
and we get to the point, okay, I will. And then you, because you care so much, and you want to make a difference. And then the next thing you know, you're just working all the time. And now you have no control of your life. Your life, the job is controlling you.
Yeah.
But remember, thing about control, at any time, you can take the control back. You gave
Yes.
it up, but
Ooh.
you
Yeah.
can take it back.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You know, I want to jump in there. I want to say something too, because I think this is also, as a holistic nurse, I have to say this. I think when we go into profession to help people become better, and we're seeing as the years roll by, people are not getting better. They're getting sicker and sicker. And because we are discharging them does not mean that they are actually healing and feeling well. And then we hear, I know we've had homeless patients, we've had patients who just, come in the hospital. They lost their job. They lost, their kids are there. They have nowhere to stay. We're seeing this, and it's really heavy because we want to help, but sometimes we don't actually really see the help. We give them medicines, but we don't actually see them, their health, their lifestyle improve, their health care.
That's where the problem is. We see them only for a short period of time
Yes.
while they're in the hospital, and they are better when they leave. So
Mhm.
when they leave, we don't see the growth that they make to become healthier. We
Yes.
only see them if they come back.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then they come back to us maybe at the same stage or at a sicker, less healthy
Mhm.
stage, and we're building them back up. I learned that in psych. I worked. I decided to work psych. Well, a friend got me to work psych, and got me to work psych with her. Let's go over here and work. I said, okay. But I found when I first started working that at least I thought that a lot of these people don't want to get better. I was thinking like that they just, it's a in and out cycle that a lot of these people don't want to get better. Then as I worked there, I said, you know what? They make maybe my idea of getting better is not the same as their idea of getting better.
True.
Mhm.
So what I considered was better was that they're going to be drug free, whatever. They're going to be able to hold down a job. They're going to have a normal life,
Mhm.
do everything people who don't do drugs do.
Mhm.
Well, that may not be their better,
They're better.
Yes.
Deep.
Yes.
you know.
And I would chime in on that, Beverly. I've worked in psych as well for 7 years with the
Uh-huh.
veteran population, and for my own history with Civil War, and then going through the Ebola crisis,
Uh-huh.
and then having also suffered burnout, I'll tell you, when you say better, just remember that there's time where when you're better, things that you did not pay attention to when you weren't better, they surface. And when they do surface, it opens a new Pandora box for people. So after working with these in psychiatric inpatient, I realized that there's a level of functioning that patients want to reach at so that they can be able to function out there and still maintain their dignity. And there's a level of functioning I want to maintain and still function as a professional, but there are some normalcy that I don't want to face. So we put that in the back burner. We put that, we lock it up, and then we're comfortable there. And if anything brings us to the normalcy that society, is scrapped for us, it can open a new Pandora box. So you hit a mark on that. Speaking of normalcy, our definition of normalcy for nurses who are burning out, may not be conducive for them. We can bring them close to some space where they can function, where they can be still productive and keep their profession rolling successfully. But our normalcy for our colleagues may not be what they need to be at, because if it opens a new Pandora box, we're not equipped. We may not be equipped to further care for them at that level. So
Something we teach people in nursing is the well, illness wellness continuum, health wellness continuum, and that people come in at different stages of health and wellness. But for them, depending on what their circumstances is and their health is, their stage of wellness can be different than my stage of wellness.
sure.
But it's still health. It may not be on the wellness end, but it could be on the healthy end.
Mhm.
But that's going to be the norm for them. So apply that concepts across from just health wellness continuum to mental wellness health continuum too. Because when you have burnout and you're experiencing this stress and you're going to have to do something to get yourself back into that healthy mode where you can function as a person in your life. Because if you get really deep burnout, you're not even going to be able to function in your
True.
whole life.
It's true.
So, but you may never be that person at the degree of healthiness that you were. But then again, with some help, you may move past that.
Yes.
You know what you're talking about, what you ladies are talking about the degree of wellness. I think it goes back to why we get burnout in the first place. And Dr. Nayam and Beverly, we were talking about the shifts. Sometimes we take extra shifts and they're burning out because they try to make more money. Some nurses, they work 7 days in a row. I don't know how on earth they
They
did it.
do. They
But
do.
they work 7, 12-hour shifts in a row because they get extra, they get overtime, they get bonus, and they bring in. But something that we were talking about is when it comes to money, nurses, a lot of their income is highly taxed, first of all. Then we don't really get financial education. So, investments, where to put money, how to shelter legally shelter your money or put it in a place that it actually works for you. Um, you are now in a different career, Beverly. So tell us a little bit more about the finances and some things that you learned as a nurse entering into the financial industry.
Well, after COVID, and I could not work because I couldn't hear, I needed something else to do. So I did find another platform to work on, which is financial advising. And I thought about other nurses. I thought about myself. Um, because my husband had died and my plans for retirement and my whole life had changed, and that changed my finances too. So I said, I've got to do something different for myself. So when I found this platform and I found a platform where life insurance with living benefits was available, and those living benefits will pay me a tax-free income if I get sick and can't work, or if I save it up for retirement and I don't get sick, I'll have that for retirement. But see, nursing as a profession, we don't really take care of our own. We don't really take care and teach nurses how to take care of themselves so that they'll be ready 20 years, 40 years and have an exit strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have exit strategies.
We have
just
a lot
work and work
we
and
have,
work. So we don't really invest in ourselves so
Mhm.
that we can plan that I'm going to exit this profession if I want to
Mm, mm.
at a certain period in my life. But you got to get yourself in the situation, get your situation in line to exit and grow money over time.
Mm.
So that very few of us will be able to save up $1 million. Okay, just put it in the bank put $1 million in the bank over 20 years, okay?
Mm.
But if you invest it right, then you can grow that money over time so that if you decide you want to retire at 62, you can retire at 62. If And a lot of nurses start having illnesses from pulling, tugging, lifting, musculoskeletal illnesses, and they're working to get to retirement so they can retire. And they can't, they feel bad. They don't really want to go to work, but they have to work. So my goal is to help nurses to not have to do it,
Mhm.
I
you
like
know, by providing finances. So when I got into this financial area, I was like, how am to wrap that around my head? I said, well, I'm helping people to become financially healthy
that.
Mhm. Mhm.
because at some point we all have to stop working.
Yeah. Yeah.
At some point if we have children, we have to put them through college or whatever we're going to do with them.
Mhm.
But we need to be ready for that. And
Mhm.
one of the ways to be ready is to learn how to invest in your money and
Mhm.
how to save your money and a way that you can have tax-free income and no market volatility. And that's the big thing I learned recently, because if you have a 401k, that market going up and down,
Yeah. It
you
goes right with it.
losing money.
You
And
can
so
lose lots.
you have to put your money in an area where there's no market volatility. And that's another aspect that the company I work, we do IULs, individual universal life insurance, and annuities, and have a 0% floors, meaning that you cannot go below 0%. You may not make money, but you won't lose money.
You won't lose money. You won't
And
lose.
then hopefully when the market come up, you start at that point. You didn't start at the loss. You starting to gain money where you stopped.
That's good.
And I think finances
So that's
usually.
an important thing to learn. And the other thing I learned is that you can stair step your stuff. Like you can turn on this one at a certain age, like you turn on that insurance plan at a certain age, you can turn on your annuity at a certain age. So you can decide how you want to turn it on
Mm.
to
Yeah.
help you. So then, I was like, gosh, I wish I'd known this stuff.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
what I'm thinking is when you get like when I finished nursing school, I was 22 and I got into a job and I had no idea. And it's like, well, what do you sign up for? Well, what benefits?
Yeah.
Whatever your 401k, okay, whatever you're offering me, you don't even think, oh, let me shop around. Or is this really working for me? Or who do I talk to about this stuff? You know?
That's right. We don't know this. And until somebody come into our life
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
present that information and help you to use it. I had all these bits and pieces, but I wasn't educated on how to make it work.
Yes.
That's the main thing about your investment is how to make it grow for you. And I was just paying this same amount all these years, and I was never set up or contacted each year to talk to me about, well, if you
Mm-hmm.
increase this, this is what will happen. So, and that's what I do to people. I call them every year on your birthday to talk about your investments. Okay. And then, okay, if you want to increase this, then are you able to increase it this year? Let's talk about your plan for increasing your investment that fits your life. Because I can't tell you what to invest. I could tell you what would work, would be great for you, but you got to invest. And I got to be a realist because I'm a realist person.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't tell you to invest $500 a month in your plan if you only have $200 to do. So
Mm-hmm.
let's see what $200 can do for you
Yeah.
for a couple of years. Then we can move on up.
Yeah.
And so that's what I like to do. I just like to start with at a certain point, and then if let's see what you can do that will fit your life, but nothing that's gonna overstress your life where you're stressed out by paying that too.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think what you're doing is amazing because not all nurses may know. And just like how you have the person telling you about health insurance may actually be just trying to sell you their plan.
Mm-hmm.
you find it the same in financial, the person who's educating you and telling you things you don't know as their ultimate goal, they may just be trying to sell you their plan or their policy. So I think that's really nice to meet you, as a nurse who your ultimate goal is really to just to help the nurses.
Right, right. Because let's be real now. I'm selling a policy.
Mhm. No, you are. Hmm.
I want you to have something.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you don't get it from me, get it from
Yeah.
Yeah.
somebody else so you have some protection. Because to me, that's the most important thing is that you have some protection. Um, and you have it separate from your workplace. That's
Hmm.
the main thing. It has to be separate from your workplace.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that too when my husband died because he had his life insurance at his workplace. So before he died, he was terminated. So when he was terminated, his life insurance was gone too.
Oh my goodness.
So I was not protected at that
Mm-hmm.
point. So your
Yeah.
life insurance is protecting you, your family. Well, my life insurance is protecting me and my family. Me first if I get ill. And then second, my family when I pass.
Wow. Now,
You know, sorry, Casey, go on.
oh, I go ahead, and then I was just gonna talk about more bonus, more trouble, because some people think they're gonna go and work all these shifts and save up a lot of money, and I'm thinking it's probably a really good strategy, but some places they're offering like a lot of money, and you were talking
Ooh.
about this, Dr. Nayambu,
Well,
ab- about the more money in traveling, it may not always work out in the long run in terms of your well-being and your burnout.
yes, because I'm a firm believer that all money is not good money.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
you can go and work and put yourself in different situations and you burn out or you get ill. So you have to think about that. Also, when you work overtime, how much overtime can you do before
Ooh.
it's no longer seen on your paycheck? You do know that, don't you? That
Mm-hmm.
Break that
work.
down for me. Let me hear it again.
So let's say I work a day of overtime and I will see, let's say I made $40 an hour. So then on that paycheck, I will see a lot of that money. But once I get over so many hours of overtime, the taxes
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that
Oh,
money.
yes, because it puts you in a
Yeah.
different bracket.
Put you
And
in a
it hurts.
different bracket.
It
So
hurts to
you
see
have
your
to know
final
that.
pay.
You have to know that.
Yeah.
How much overtime can you get before you're in a different bracket? And then you come home and you get your paycheck and your third day after taxes, you made $40.
That's terrible. That's
Yeah.
terrible.
Every nurse who works overtime knows this, or they learn that.
Mm-hmm.
After so many
Mm-hmm.
days, you're gonna make. I think my friend says 2 days. The third day is gonna be tax day.
Oh, okay.
So she had it all worked out, So you know, you
Then you
have to
burn
learn these
out.
things. How many hours can you do? It does not. It is not in your best interest and
Mm.
to work. And sometimes you have to put your best interest into the equation too,
Mhm, mhm. Yes.
because we all come into most of us. We have altruistic characteristics is what brought us into nursing, but at
Mhm.
some point you have to put me first too.
Yes. Yeah.
Not always about people. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where you learn that when you get your tax bill and you get that paycheck and you saw that you only made $40 for 8 hour shift, you're like, oh my God, I didn't make anything. I'm not doing that again. Well,
Yeah.
that's not true because you
And
will
I
do it again until you learn better.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that goes into the benefits of our burnout prevention program, because we have financial advisors such as you. We have people who will help you, and I think even having the counseling for newer nurses or just nurses who may come from different countries, they may just not know how things work. Even before going into like a travel assignment or even taking a job that says, it's paying 100,000 100,000, 200,000. What you have to know that they're going to be requiring that amount of work from you. You know,
Well, yeah, yeah.
high burnout. So what's your strategy, you know?
Well, you have to know if you sign on a $20,000 bonus, a $50,000 bonus, it's not going to be easy. It is
Mm,
not going to be an easy job because, number one, they probably have a high turnover rate. They wouldn't
mhm,
be offering that bonus like that if they did not.
mm.
And they can put you wherever they want to put you.
One, mhm.
Whatever unit they need, that's
Mm-hmm.
where they're going to put you. So don't think that you're just going to ease on in there. You're going to earn every bit of that and every bit of that bonus that you get. So when you look at that, talk to yourself and say, "Am I prepared
Mhm.
to work this stressful job?" Because
Mhm.
you are walking in, I wouldn't say this word, but you are walking into hell. it
Yes.
it
Yeah.
is. It is because it is totally something that sometimes we used to say it worked me like a Hebrew slave.
It's true.
And
It
that's
is
how you're
true.
gonna be. It's gonna be true.
Yes.
It's true.
That's how you're gonna work.
Yes.
It's true.
You have
And
to
I
be prepared for that.
I think not even just for yourself, because sometimes we think, oh, I can handle it, but could our families handle it? What about
That's
our
true.
children? You know, could they handle us working these high, intense jobs?
And how long can you handle it?
Ooh,
Because when you do that sign-on bonus, you're not getting all that money up front.
that's true. That's true.
You're gonna get it increments. You may have something up front, and I know at the end when you complete your contract, you'll get another percentage of that bonus.
Mm,
So if you're getting $50,000, you probably got to work like 4 years or something like that, 2 to 4 years.
yeah,
Can you do that? Can
yeah,
you can you or and many people cannot
yeah,
because it just stressed them out. It's just so much work, and they end up leaving before they get the second half of their bonus or whatever.
yeah.
Uh,
It's
and,
true.
and remember, if you're stressed out at work, you're going to be stressed out at home. Who you're going to bring that home? You've got
Mhm,
to find a way to decompress
Mm-hmm.
between the time you leave work and the time you get home.
mhm,
What are you going to do
mhm.
to decompress at that time?
Yeah.
You really talk about decompressing, and I want to talk about vetting that company that you are signing up with.
Mhm,
You are signing up with this company with such amount of bonuses that they're providing. We should be inclined to do our research and check with other nurses who have had the same sign-on bonuses. How was it for you? How did it
mm,
go? So that this way you do your background check before you walk into hellfire, as you said. Because before you can decompress, you need to make sure you know what you're walking into. So this way, mentally you are equipped and you're ready for what's ahead of you versus just walking in there. The money is on your mind, and that is all your focus.
There
You
is
know?
always somebody else who has experienced what you are going through or will be going through.
Mhm.
All you have to do is just go Google it, put it on the internet, and I guarantee you will find some information
it's true.
about
Yep.
nurses who went into
Yep.
situations like that, especially on a site like Quora where they ask questions
Mhm,
Mhm.
and people
mhm.
answer.
Yeah,
And you will get information about what that bonus mean and how it's going to affect you and your life and what they did. Were they able to complete it? Or
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
and I think this is definitely a good conversation. We are way over our time, but this was such juicy conversation. I just couldn't help it. But I think having our senior nurse mentorship program as part of the Burnout Prevention Network, sometimes as a new nurse, you may not even know that you need to ask these questions. So
Mhm.
I think definitely connecting with someone who's been in nursing for a long time, they can help guide you or even bring up some of these scenarios to you so you could prepare. But this has been a wonderful, wonderful discussion. I thank you for joining our team, Beverly. I thank you, Dr. Nayampu, for your insights. We touched on so many topics that really causes nurse burnout, and we're going not just to superficial but to the root causes and things that we don't really think about. So if anybody in our audience, if you have any questions for Beverly or for Dr. Nayampu or myself, feel free to leave a comment. If this resonates with you, if you're thinking, yes, and I want them to know dot dot dot, leave it in the comments and we can always bring Beverly back, or we can always have another discussion about it. But I thank you, ladies.
Thank you,
Thank
Casey.
you.
Thank you, Beverly. It's been really fun, and thank you for our viewer that came along and put her comments through, commending you, Beverly. This is why we do this.
Yes.
Yes, because nurses need help.
Yes,
Yes.
and we can
Yes.
help each other better than
And
anyone
we can
else.
help each other. Who else can help? Who else can help you other than a nurse?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we do.
That's true.
So now let's turn it toward ourselves.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Wise words.
Thank
Wise
you.
words. I love it.
Got it.
Well, thank you, viewers, for listening in. And we hope that you will join us next Thursday. We're here every Thursday at 11 a.m., having really stimulating conversations about burnout, burnout healing, and prevention.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.